You know that feeling when you open your phone for just a second and somehow leave feeling smaller than you did before? Maybe nothing even happened directly. You just saw another trader posting a massive green day, another payout, another past challenge, another perfect entry with comments underneath saying things like, "This was so easy." And suddenly, your own progress feels painfully slow. The trades that you were once proud of earlier don't feel impressive anymore. The discipline you've been trying to build suddenly feels invisible. Even the fact that you're still showing up begins to feel like evidence that you're behind. It's strange how quickly the mind can turn someone else's moment into a quiet judgment against ourselves. Most people don't realize how psychologically intense this experience actually is, especially in trading. People often talk about comparison like it's vanity or insecurity, like it's simply a mindset issue. But that explanation has always felt incomplete to me. Because for a lot of traders, comparison isn't really about wanting attention. It's about trying to find safety, trying to understand where you stand, trying to know if all this effort is eventually going somewhere, trying to reassure yourself that you're not wasting years of your life chasing something you may never fully grasp. There's more going on here than people realize, and I think a lot of traders carry shame around this because the internet treats confidence like it's something people either naturally have or naturally don't. But the nervous system doesn't really work that way. Research in neuroscience shows that the brain is constantly scanning for social positioning and environmental cues. Long before modern trading existed, human survival depended heavily on understanding where we stood within a group. Safety was connected to belonging, to competence, to not falling behind. And trading amplifies this wiring in a way most professions don't. Because in trading, results are measurable, visible, public. There's a scoreboard attached to almost everything: profit, loss, win rate, account size, payouts. So the brain begins doing what brains naturally do: comparing data in an attempt to predict safety and future outcomes. The problem is that social media gives the nervous system incomplete information. It shows outcomes without context. A trader can post one screenshot that represents years of struggle, debt, blown accounts, emotional breakdowns, sleepless nights, and self doubt, and the brain absorbs it as they're ahead and I'm behind. That interpretation happens fast, faster than logic. And if someone already grew up feeling like they had to prove themselves, earn approval, or measure their worth through performance, trading can quietly awaken all of that again. I don't think enough people talk about how trading interacts with old emotional patterns. For some people, the market becomes more than a financial environment, it becomes psychological, a place where self worth, identity, fear, perfectionism, and inadequacy all rise to the surface at once. And honestly, I've experienced that myself. There have been moments where someone else's success affected me more than my own losses, not because I wasn't happy for them, but because comparison has a way of making your own progress disappear in your mind. You stop seeing the discipline you've built, the emotional control you're learning, the patience you didn't have 6 months ago, the mistakes you no longer make. And instead, all you can see is the distance between you and someone else. But I started realizing something over time. The traders who appear the most confident online are not necessarily the most emotionally regulated, and the traders who seem slow are not necessarily failing. Some people are building quietly, deeply, with sustainability. There's a difference between fast results and internal stability, and trading has a way of eventually exposing whichever one was neglected. That's part of why comparison can become so dangerous psychologically, because it pressures people to abandon their natural pace in order to imitate someone else's timeline. But nervous systems are different. Personalities are different. Life responsibilities are different. Some traders thrive with aggression and speed. Other traders best when they're slowly and methodically working. Some people can emotionally handle large drawdowns and others cannot. Neither person is wrong. Different systems require different environments to function well. And honestly, I think many traders delay their growth because they spend too much time trying to become someone else. I did that for a long time. There were strategies I kept forcing myself into because they looked impressive when other people traded them. But internally, it created anxiety, overthinking, emotional exhaustion. It took me a while to realize that wisdom sometimes looks less exciting externally and more peaceful internally. And maybe that's the part social media struggles to measure: the peace, emotional progress, alignment. Those things rarely look dramatic online, but they matter a lot, especially in the long term. The strange paradox is that comparison often comes from deeply caring about growth. People who compare themselves intensely are usually people who desperately want to improve. They're observing, measuring, trying to adapt. But eventually, that same awareness can become self erasure if it isn't grounded somewhere deeper. Because there will always be someone making more, growing faster, recovering quicker, and trading a larger size. The mind never reaches a final comparison point where it suddenly feels permanently secure. And I think that's why so many traders stay emotionally exhausted even when they become profitable, because their nervous system was never actually looking for money. It was looking for relief, validation, enoughness. And external success can't fully resolve internal insecurity. That realization changed a lot for me spiritually too. Because over time, I started sensing that God cared far more about who I was becoming through this journey than how impressive I looked during it. The discipline, the humility, the dependence, the emotional maturity. Those things are quieter than profit screenshots, but they last so much longer. And maybe if your journey feels slower right now, it doesn't necessarily mean something is wrong. Maybe your foundation is simply being built differently, more carefully, more deeply. That doesn't make your path better than someone else's, and it doesn't make theirs worse. It just means human beings are not designed to flourish in identical ways. And honestly, there's something relieving about finally accepting that. You don't have to become another trader to succeed. You don't have to force yourself into someone else's personality, someone else's pace, someone else's nervous system. Your experience makes sense. The discouragement makes sense. The comparison makes sense. The emotional fatigue makes sense. None of that means you're broken. It means you're human and maybe more self aware than you realize. If this resonated with you, there's more to uncover about the emotional side of trading that most people never talk about. Because sometimes the biggest breakthroughs in trading don't begin with strategy, they begin with finally understanding yourself.